Welcome to Dominate Now podcast. Today, I'm going to be discussing business mindset along with my partner, Nikko Rios. We're also going to be talking about how to become production oriented and how money works. So, Nikko, first and foremost, brother, thank you for joining me on this episode. It's always a privilege to, have a professional conversation with you. I feel like, there's certain types of conversations, right? There's conversations that help you, and there's conversations that hinder you, and there's also conversations that do absolutely nothing for you, right? Mm-hmm. Blank spaces, whatever you want to call them, right? Yeah. So, the objective, I think, today is to help our team and to help anybody watching grow as far as our mindset goes from employee to entrepreneurship, mm-hmm. and also to help expand people's minds as to really what a production-oriented role will give you, right?
Yeah.
The freedom, the money, the time, all of those things that matter. So to get started, I wanted to focus on the shift. I guess we'll call it the shift, right? Because every entrepreneur goes through it. And, mm-hmm. At one point, I think every entrepreneur was an employee, right? They may not have started right away in business. Mm-hmm. At least, that's how it worked out for me, right? Mm-hmm. So even if it's early age, right? But along the way, as you grow, as you take on a new role, as you take on new challenges and new risks, your mindset evolves and you begin to experience what I call the shift, right?
Yeah.
You made a drastic shift a year and 9 months ago when we met, or when we met again, I should say, right?
Yeah.
At Starbucks, as I remember vividly, talking to you about the opportunity here in selling solar and in joining me on this mission to build what is now Bright World. Mm-hmm. And just listening to you, I saw myself a few years back because I wanted to have an opportunity of this magnitude. I wanted to be surrounded with like-minded individuals, right? I wanted to put a lot of the skills that I have that are non-tangible skills, right, to use. I wanted to do all those things, right? I just didn't have the right vehicle for it. So I want you to talk to us, Nikko, a little bit about the shift and how you experienced it from working at Kaiser Permanente as an employee, making $40,000 a year, to your first year in entrepreneurship to now your second year. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Wow, that's a great question, Alex. It was a pretty long journey. It's only been a year and 9 months, but the shift has been very rewarding. I came from a 9-to-5 job working at Kaiser at full benefits. I was getting paid $35 an hour. So for a kid my age, right after college, I was getting paid pretty well, right? But I had my bachelor's in kinesiology, and the only way that I can actually level up in that department was to actually go back to school and become a dietitian, right? But I really didn't see myself there. I kind of felt like I was just going through the motions a little bit, but I've always had that entrepreneur mindset. I would always love to, sell shoes. I would like to sell clothes and stuff like that. So I've always had that business mindset. I've always wanted to also open up my own food truck or my own restaurant, which I'm still looking forward to doing. But I kind of had that scarcity mindset as well. So transforming into an all-commission role was kind of scary, but when you told me basically about the dream, the vision, and what we're actually going towards, instead of, hey, look, you can make $10,000, you can make $100,000, it was more like, hey, look, this is what I'm trying to build. I'm trying to build a team that's going to have 500 reps within the next couple of years, and along the way you can make really great money as well. So that's one thing that I really appreciated about you, because I've been recruited by multi-level marketing. I've been recruited, trying to sell vacuums and stuff like that, but it wasn't really fitting for me. But
yeah,
the industry is something that really matters. In solar, of course, everybody needs electricity. So the shift was like I said, it was really great, because I went from working a 9-to-5 with really no purpose in life, other than I've had big dreams and aspirations. Like, I want to buy my mom a house, I want to buy my dad a house, I want to take them on vacations, I want to do this, I want to do that. But in order for me to actually do that, I would have had to work 3 to 5 years to accumulate all that money to be able to do that. But now, going into an all-commission role, my bank account actually reflects the hours that I put in, right? If I put in hard work, and if I work 15-hour days, 40-hour weeks, right, 60-hour weeks that we normally do, now my bank account reflects that, and now I'm able to go ahead and do those things that I want to do for my friends, my family, and for myself as well.
Nice.
So switching from that that 9 to 5 was a little bit scary because of the all commission role. You don't know, you're not getting a paycheck every single week, but you have the ability to, right? But that means going out there, that means doing the work, putting in the work, staying coachable, right? Perfecting your craft and just doing everything that you need to do, all the necessities that you need to do to be successful and get those paychecks, but get those big paychecks, right?
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like, in the beginning, right, you talked about how growing up you always had big aspirations to do big things in life, right? Mm-hmm. How did you feel when you were in the 9 to 5? You said it could take you 3 to 5 years to work up, all the cash to potentially buy a house or buy your mom a house. But I mean, 3 to 5 years still sounds like a short amount of time, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you don't want to put your dreams on hold, or you don't want to choose, I think, I'm going to do this year, I'm going to do this in a couple of years, right? Mm-hmm. It's better to have like that freedom and that control to say, you know what, I'm going to accomplish all of these things within a 5-year span or whatever that might be, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's what entrepreneurship gives you that being an employee doesn't. Being an employee, you don't have that power of choice, right?
Of course.
And being an entrepreneur, you do have that power of choice, because if you want to get there faster, you have to just put in more hours,
exactly.
Right? You have to also work smarter, you have to develop your skills, you have to do all of the things necessary to improve in order to reach that next level, right?
Yeah.
But tell me, man, how did you feel like in a 9 to 5? It's been a while since I've been in one, right? And I can tell you that I felt trapped. I felt like a lion in a cage, literally, right? Yeah. I've talked about that before. I also felt capped. I felt like I was in a really small room, right? Definitely. There was only one door, and that was out, right? Yeah. And that was it. There was no other doors that I could open for greater opportunity, for more bandwidth, I guess you could say, right? Mm-hmm. So that's how I felt in a 9 to 5. How did you feel?
Brother, I felt exactly the same way. The people that I work with, I really love. I think that's what made it staying in a 9 to 5 actually, worth it, because the people I was surrounded with,
that's awesome.
They were just, we had the same values, and they were really great people to, just hang out with, not only at work, but outside of work as well.
Nice.
And I've worked at Kaiser for about 5 to 6 years, and I've worked with people who I started with there who are still working there, and I still keep in contact with them. But I did feel trapped. I felt capped, because I felt like I was just, like I said, just going through the motions. And for me to actually, I had a dream of buying a home. I was like, hey, one day I'm going to buy a home, right? But buying a home in the Bay Area means at least 7 to 10 years of work, right? Because you can't really find a nice home less than, I would say, maybe $750,000 or maybe even $1 million now, right? So I really didn't have that vehicle to get there, so it was kind of scary. I knew it would happen one day, but going into entrepreneurship and knowing what I know now and being in the vehicle in the industry that I'm in now I'm able to get there a lot faster. Now I'm able to actually, my goal this year is to actually get one by the end of the year. I think I was mentioning that to you.
Yeah, you'll do it.
So, I want to go ahead and do that. And now that I'm able to do that, because if I know that, hey, look, I have to make a $2,000 mortgage payment. Now I know that I have to go out there, work my ass off maybe for a couple more hours and earn that extra money, but I'm able to do that now instead of, just working the hours that I needed to, getting a fixed paycheck. Now I'm able to actually go out there, do what I need to do, maybe even make more, right? Or I will make more, but now I'm able to do that.
Yeah, so it sounds like the mindset shift you went through went from, scarcity, limitations to abundance,
exactly,
right?
Abundance.
And, a lot of people, I feel, as they begin in an entrepreneurship role or even in an all-commission-based role, right, that abundance mindset almost scares them in the beginning, right? It's a feeling that, like, is it really possible? You doubt yourself a lot. You go through a lot of self-doubt when you begin into an all-commission sales role, especially when you don't have the experience, which you didn't have initially, right?
Yep.
I remember, your first couple of months, you hit that 10K mark or really, really close to it, and it was really
really close.
And you were super close. Yeah. It was really inspiring to see that shift that you went through from, man, like I was making $4,000 a month cap to now, like, holy shit, I have freedom to make more money. I have the ability to make more money. I'm in a vehicle that can allow me for that, right? It was incredible to see that. And just thinking back at it, man, like, I don't feel like you went through very much, like, mental or mindset like tough I guess issues, right? Where you had that self-doubt. But tell us a little bit about that. If you did go through self-doubt, how did you overcome that?
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. There's a lot of times that I've went through self-doubt, because in an all-commission role, right, you have to actually go out there, and if you don't see results, right, you're putting in the hours, but if you don't see results, then you kind of start thinking, oh, is this the right thing for me? I mean, I started making my first couple of months, I made 7,000, then 10,000, then 10,000, right? And then I was shooting for that 20,000, 25,000 mark. But on that month, I had a 0 month. I didn't close any deals.
That.
Yeah, I didn't close
June.
any. Yep, exactly. I didn't close any deals. I had a really good month the month before. I think I hit my 20,000, but I was going for 30,000. But I didn't have any deals, and I was like, did my actions align with what I was trying to do? And that answer was no, right? So it's not really, it was the mindset, but it's you got to think back and not only think about the good stuff, but you also got to think about the bad stuff, right? What didn't you do that led you to have a 0 month? What didn't you do that led you to not achieve what your goal was, monetarily or whatever your goal was for that month?
What didn't you do? I like that, man. It's true. At the end of the day, that's what it means to be production oriented, right?
Yeah.
Which, we talked a little bit about mindset, the shift that you need to go through when you go from being an employee to being an entrepreneur or to being in a sales role. Now let's talk about becoming production oriented, right? Because you said something really powerful. You said it was about aligning my actions with my efforts, right? And that month that you had a 0 month, you felt like you didn't exactly align those actions, those high-level actions, with the vision, essentially, with what you wanted to accomplish that month, right? And that's why it led to a 0 month.
Yep.
But it's true. At the end of the day, becoming production oriented means you're constantly in direct alignment with the numbers that you want to achieve, right? Like, for example, I remember my first $50,000 month. It was a scary month to think about. However, that month was the hardest working month of my life. I mean, I was out 12 hours a day, probably worked 72 to 80 hours a week minimum. It was nonstop. Every single day I was aligned with the numbers, right? I was figuring out how to increase my productivity, how to, even revive customers or clients in the past that maybe didn't sign or the credit failed, whatever it was. So all of a sudden, because I was so aligned with the numbers, I was doing things that I normally wouldn't do at the time, right? At the time, I wasn't as much of a professional as I am now. I was essentially still a field salesperson, right? So I remember even creating a list of customers that I had to follow up with and driving to those customers, right? And that's how I pulled one customer, which led to that 50K month, right?
Yeah.
But that's normally something I wouldn't have done. But because I was so aligned with the numbers and with the idea of me making that $50,000 commission month, I was doing anything and everything to get there, right?
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, I was still very aligned with my core values and everything that I stand for, right? Integrity, doing the right thing. That doesn't mean that you're going to do anything and everything to get there, but it does mean that you're going to do things you normally wouldn't, right? That's
Definitely.
production oriented,
100%.
Like a lot of people, when I interview them, they fear door knocking. They fear door knocking, right? They fear the thought of the client opening up the prospect, I guess, opening up the door and them getting the door slammed in their face or whatever it is, right? And the way I like to put it, and you've heard me say this before, is if I were to tell you that all it takes is you to learn and master door knocking and do it for 12 months in a row, and when you do it for 12 months in a row, you would have made $100,000 or more. Would you call that a good exchange of your time?
Of course.
Right? Everybody says yes, but then they get released into the field and they're taking days off. They're starting knocking at 4 p.m. I mean, when I was doing the volume that I was doing on my personal volume, right, which was closing 15 deals a month on average, just self-generated, right? Dude, I was not taking days off. I was starting my day at 10 o'clock, knocking until 8 o'clock,
Yeah, I remember those days.
You were there, right?
I remember those days.
Of course you do. And you were too, and we were just powering through the day and there was no holds. It was like a no holds barred type of attitude. Like whatever it takes, we were going to do it, right?
Yeah.
So that's production oriented. What does production oriented or being production oriented mean to you?
Well, I mean, I think you hit it right on the money. Was just aligning those actions with your vision, right? If your goal is to make $50,000 in a month or $100,000 in a month, right? You have to make sure that those actions that you do on a daily basis, every single day, doesn't even have to be work related. I think even just things such as self-development will help you get there.
That's
right?
huge.
I know one thing that I've learned from you is that you always say the thing that got you to $20,000 a month is not going to get you to $50,000. It's not going to get you to $100,000 a month. So that's why I say you definitely have to look at what the things that you did do, right? But the things that you didn't do, because I mean, it took me a while to hit my first 50K month, and I remember I hit it in May, and I was out there grinding, right? I was making phone calls, I was getting referrals, I was doing absolutely everything that I could do to get to that 50K month, and I finally did it. But that was me putting in hours of work. That was me closing. I think I closed probably like 9 deals, I think.
Yeah.
In that month, and a majority of them were pretty big deals, and I didn't get the last couple days. I got the last 2 deals. It was one person. He gave me 2 of his homes, and that's how I was able to achieve that 50K month. But realizing now that I'm trying to hit 125K in 1 month, right? Are those same actions that I was doing in May gonna get me there? I mean,
Definitely not.
Well put. Yeah, so I've been doing that the same actions I've been doing in May, probably up until now, and I can actually admit that, right? So that's why I haven't hit that $125,000 a month, right?
And you're human, right? At the end of the day, you're a human being, and the truth is, like, we talk about these figures as if they're so small, but the truth is they're very large.
Oh, of course.
And in fact, 99% of the population in the U.S. doesn't hit those numbers, right? A huge percentage of the population doesn't hit those numbers on a monthly basis. So it's something that's extraordinary, right? It's not typical.
Yeah.
It's not typical. It's not average, right? That's why not everybody's doing it. So obviously tied to with what you said, in order to hit that number, hit that target, you have to do what's not typical of what your day-to-day would normally consist of.
Yep.
You have to get creative, man. You have to become innovative. And at the end of the day, these are key points in becoming production-oriented, becoming innovative in your approach, becoming creative in the revenue generating activities that you partake in, right? And like you said, being in direct alignment with your actions, right? And making sure that every day they're aligned with that vision. If it's 10K, that there's still a vision to that, right? And making sure that you do differently, right? You have to do differently to achieve differently. So I love that, man, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think that there's no doubt in my mind you're going to hit that 125 in November. You're also going to do a lot more than you did in October, right? The activities that you're focusing on are going to be very focused in revenue, right? And maybe less focused on a lot of the stuff that you're focused on now, like the business, building out different processes and systems for us, right? And that's why you'll hit it, right? So, with being production oriented, I think there's a big reward, right? Because I've always said this, and I learned this from Grant Cardone. An amateur and a professional differ in many ways, and one of the ways is that the professional always knows how to predict their income. All right.
Yeah, I remember
for example,
you said that all the time.
Yeah, for example, when we got this HQ, right? I thought, okay, $13,000 a month, easy. 2 deals, right?
Yeah.
Like 1 deal sometimes, right? It just depends on the size of the system, right? But in my thinking, I'm like, okay, obviously, like, we're at a level as a company where we do, 3 digits a month, right? So 2 deals is very minuscule in comparison to like what the volume that we do and what we're capable of.
Yeah.
So I put that, thought aside, and I said, we can't afford it. It's a done deal, right? There's no way that we won't be able to sustain this big building. And in fact, we should go bigger, but let's start here, right? And, that was tied to being production oriented, right? It gives you that ability to predict. I said, okay, well, I'm going to make an assessment. How many deals do I need to make this deal happen, to make this reality happen, right? It's only 2 deals. When you put that into perspective, all it means is I got to go get more deals in order to fund the venture, whatever it is that I'm doing, right? So at the end of the day, when you become production oriented, that's when you become, you gain the ability to predict your income, right? Because you know exactly what your efforts are required to hit that target and what that number is tied to in terms of deals or in terms of volume, whatever role you're in, right?
I like how you said perspective, right? Because when people think, especially our reps, right? They're trying to hit their first 20K month, or they're trying to hit 50K month. They always look at the dollar amount, right? 20,000. That's how much I made in all last year. I'm never gonna hit that, right? But if you break it down to a science and you break it down to how many deals, that could be 3 big deals, right? 2 or 3 big deals, or it can be 5 to 8 small deals. Now, what do I have to do to get those deals, right? So I like how you touched on that perspective, because it really does come down to that. Yeah. Because if you look at the big number, $100,000 in 1 month, that's a big number. That's double of what I made when I was working at Kaiser in a whole year.
That's crazy,
right? So me trying to make that in 1 month, I know it's possible, I know it's doable, but I have to make sure that I align my vision with my actions with that vision, right? And I have to just break it down to the science. What do I need to do? Maybe I need to spend more on ads. Maybe I need to recruit a little bit more, right? How many deals do I need to make? I think it's probably around at least 15 to 20 deals around their minimum, right? But can I do it? Yes, of course I can. So that's why I'm going to be spending more into Facebook ads in different states and everything like that. So it's all about perspective.
You're getting innovative. It is about perspective. And when you look at $50,000 in a month and you divide it by $350 an hour, it comes out to be about 38 hours per week worked, right? So imagine, who makes $350 an hour these days in any day and age, in any career? Nobody. It's very rarely. I mean, you got to be a brain surgeon to make that kind of money per hour, right? Or a lawyer or of some sort. And even then, like, your income is still capped, so you can't really go above that or rise above it like you are this month. So being production oriented, I think also one important component is that it gives you, like you said, and like I said, perspective, right? Not just over how to get there, how to achieve it, but over what it actually does for you, right? For example, you touched on, like, when I make $100,000 in a month, it's going to be twice as much as what I made in a year at one point. What does that do? It buys you time, right? It buys you time. Time, energy, and efforts is what we have less and less of as we grow old and weak, right? So if you can buy yourself 2 years by making what you would have made in 2 years in 1 month, would you consider that a good exchange of your time and energy?
100%, yeah.
Right? So that's what a lot of people don't realize, As I was just talking to my wife, looking at how far we've come in the last, 2.5 years of building what is now Bright World, it really sunk in. Like, we've accomplished what most people won't accomplish in their lifetime in that short 2.5 year period, right? Not in terms of, monetary achievements and so forth, but in terms of the value and the systems and just overall the vehicle that you created, and now you're a part of that too, which is insane. It's awesome. It is. But it just goes to show you that a lot of people, they work their entire life to get to essentially where we are, right? And some don't even make it, and some can't make it, right? So it's how blessed we are to be in this position, and now help others get there, right?
Yep.
But that's the thing, like, being production oriented means you put that perspective into, okay, what am I really earning here? Is it just dollars? No, it's value, right? Yeah. It's value that you can't touch. It's not tangible, non-tangible value. It's time. It's something that it's a gift, earning time with your production, right?
100%, man.
Exactly. So, it's scary, right, to think big numbers, but I think that you should always think big, right? Yeah. Because it's like what they say, right? If you shoot for 100,000, you land at 10,000, it's still a good deal. You really probably would have landed at a lot less if you would have only shot for those 10,000, right? It triggers that innovation that's needed to be production oriented.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about money, brother. So, I talked about how, making more money obviously gives you more time as a gift, not just the money that you earn, but time as well, because you cut that learning curve, you cut that time.
Yeah.
But also, money gives you opportunities, right? So, there's 3 types of income. Passive income, right, which is when you put your money to work. There's earned income, which is the amount of time that you put in exchange for money. And then you got dividend income or stock income, right, like investments. Ties to passive a little bit. So, the thing is, like, when you're in the right vehicle, when you're in entrepreneurship, you have that ability to create all 3 types of those incomes, right? Now, you've kind of witnessed myself create those 3 types of income, and now you as well.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to get into, that, I told you about this when you started a year and 9 months ago, and I said, dude, one day you're going to be able to take some of your money and create passive income with it. Yeah. You're going to be able to take some of your money and create dividend income, right? Or real estate portfolio, whatever you want to do, right? And then you're going to be able to create time freedom as a result of putting your money in the right places and not blowing it, right? And not senselessly spending it, right?
Yeah.
So, today we just did our first real estate deal, right?
Exciting stuff.
Pretty awesome, and we invested $150,000 as a hard money loan to get a return of $15,000 in return.
Yep.
I put $100,000, you put $50,000, right?
Yep.
Scary
It's a
stuff,
lot- that's a lot
but
of
really
money.
cool because at the end of the day, that money's just sitting in the bank and it's not accruing any interest, or at least
Oh, for sure.
at least not anything that you can notice, right?
Yeah.
So
Less than 1% or even
much less, bro. It's like a 1/10 of a percent,
that's
bro.
what I'm saying.
It's nuts. It takes like 700 years to double in the bank, essentially, right?
Holy crap.
Yeah, perspective, right?
Perspective for sure.
So, from my case, like I put 100,000, and in 60 days I get 110,000. The bank will never do that for me.
Yeah.
That's 5,000 a month.
Yeah.
You break that down into 12 months, it's 800 a month.
Mhm.
If I were to only have done that one deal in 12-month period,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's insane.
That's pretty good.
And you put 50,000, you get 5,000 back in 60 days as well. It's a hard money loan, right? So it has stipulations and contingencies that allow for this. That's insane, right?
Yeah.
But that's what the people listening, you guys need to understand. Everybody needs to understand that that's what becoming production oriented gives you. That's what being in the right vehicle gives you. That's what working your ass off for a long period of time gives you, because this has not come overnight. It sure as hell didn't come in a month and 2 months and 3 months. No, it came through years of perseverance, right? Years of hard work, hours in the field. I mean, we're always the first ones in the office, the last one to leave,
Definitely.
always, day in and day out. So there is no secret to freedom. If there was some sort of secret formula to freedom and anybody can obtain it, you just Google it or something and you pull it up, everybody would have it. The truth is, freedom is earned over long periods of time and over consistency, right? And then when you do get there, you can make these types of moves where you create that passive income through the earned income.
Yep.
And that's essentially giving you more time and more freedom overall as a whole.
Yeah.
So it's incredible, man. I wanted to touch on that briefly and, just let you guys know that anything is possible as long as you set your mind to it, right? Did you think you were going to be doing a deal like this?
I mean, you just brought it up to me, I think today, right?
Yeah.
Just today, and I was like, hey, look, if I can do this, it's just sitting in the bank right now, right? If I'm able to, just spend or lend $50,000 and make, a 10% return on my investment in 2 months, that's Christmas gifts paid for,
That's
right?
right.
Like you said. So, money back then I probably wouldn't have, because for me, I'm not the type to spend a lot. I always like to keep. And what I've realized over just being in entrepreneurship and business is that you can't just keep that money. If you want to actually accumulate and double and triple your money, you actually have to spend it. You have to actually invest it, right? So that's why I'm investing not only back into the business, but now I want to start spending it into real estate, something that I can earn passive income on.
That's right. Awesome, man. Well, we've talked about a lot of great things. Let's go ahead and leave everyone with a few tips to dominate that mindset that's necessary in entrepreneurship. You want to go ahead and start with, your first tip?
I think my first tip is just to commit first, figure the rest out later. I know a lot of people have heard me say that, but the first thing before jumping into any field or any industry, whether it's all commission or not, right, is to commit fully in. A lot of people want to come in, make $10,000, $20,000 a month, but they also want to have that part-time job, that security, right?
Yeah.
You have to actually just believe in yourself, know that you can actually do it, right? So commit all the way in, right? And if you go and commit, then there's no reason for failure, because you won't let it happen.
Yep,
right?
that's
So,
right. And
commit first, figure the rest out later. I think that's my first tip.
I love that, man. So I'll add to that. So, when you commit, something magical happens inside of your subconscious. You're now reading Think and Grow Rich, right?
Yeah.
So you started it. So you're going to learn about this, but that commitment triggers your inner belief system to skyrocket, right? It's like a drug that you create inside of your body, right? Drugs they enhance your feelings, your emotions, right? So committing to something and going all into something, it does that same exact thing, right? Where, that drug, that stimulation that you feel, that sensation that you feel when you commit to something, it's going to do one of two things. It's going to scare you, right? Or it's going to excite you. If it scares you, odds are it also excites you at the same time.
I think
right?
A little bit of both.
A little bit of both,
Yep.
right? And the only way that your vision of succeeding at that commitment does not work is if you don't put in the work necessary to get there, right? Because at the end of the day, you're not going to commit to something that's totally out of proportion.
Yep.
Oh, I'm going to make $5 million in a day, right? Like, it just won't happen, right? You're going to commit to something that you know you're capable of. It's just something is holding you back. But when you let go and you commit and you figure the rest out later, as you said, or as you go, that's really how business works, man.
Yep.
Like Steve Jobs, a lot of the big players, the big entrepreneurs that we all aspire and we look up to, right? They started with commitment. A lot of people think they had it all figured out and then they launched. No, that's not how it works, right?
It's years and years of work.
Years and years. Everything starts with commitment. So I love that you brought that up, and I firmly believe that everyone listening should focus on their commitment levels and on raising it. I have a few more tips for you guys. So first, this is kind of a technical tip. A lot of people, as they emerge into entrepreneurship or sales, they forget about the importance of becoming resourceful, right? Now, I think being resourceful is a skill, right? It's a high income skill because not a lot of people are resourceful. I've seen that in you for sure. You're super resourceful. If you don't know how to do something, odds are you just need about a couple hours and you'll figure it out, you know?
For sure.
It's powerful, right? But if you're listening and you're thinking, how do I get into sales? How do I start dominating my career, my existing career that I'm in? Focus on how to become resourceful. Focus on examining the resources that you have around you and utilizing those resources, whether they be people, whether they be books, anything at all. But becoming resourceful is super powerful in entrepreneurship, and it's definitely one of the keys to success. Next, and I touched on it earlier, is becoming innovative, right? So think creation, right? What can I make out of what I have with me, right? Like if you put flour, eggs, brownie mix in front of a baker, what are they going to do? They're going to make brownies, right? Yep. So now look at the resources around you and think, what can I create, right? Can I create my dream life through this vehicle? If so, how do I mold it to become, exactly as I envision it, right?
Yeah.
What sacrifices? That's the third tip. Making the necessary sacrifices that you need to make in order to essentially mold the life of your dreams, right? Because nothing comes easy, Of course. Nothing absolutely comes easy, and nobody's perfect. And trust me, just like it takes different actions to make 20,000 than it does to make 10,000 in a month, it also takes a different you to become fulfilled. It takes a different you to impact others. It takes a different you to lead others, right? So innovate, create, become resourceful, commit first, figure the rest out as you go, right? Those are the top 4 tips that we're going to leave everyone with. Any closing statements, brother?
No, that was good, man. I like how you said sacrifice, because a lot of people, they want to do different things. They want to jump into business, but sacrificing a lot of things like time from partying, time from playing video games, and doing things that actually, will help you grow as an individual, grow you and grow your business. So I really love that, man.
100%. Awesome. Well, join us on the next episode, and I hope you really took something of value today.
All right,
Thanks
guys.
for joining, Nikko.
No worries, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, brother.